Hello and welcome to a new session of revision for Karnataka set. I hope all of you are doing fine. So without further ado, let's get started with our Karnataka set countdown series. Today is the second day of our countdown series, right? So let me start by sharing. But before that, here with me is Dr. Rishati Dasgupta from Team Vallath.
Hi everyone, good evening.
Yes, so I hope the screen is visible. Right. So I welcome you all again to Vallath Karnataka set countdown session 4. Right. So let's move on to our first question for tonight. Okay. Yeah.
So the first question is, choose the wrong statement about Oscar Wilde. The first statement says, The Picture of Dorian Gray is his only novel. The second statement says, in 1880, he completed his first play, that is Vera or The Nihilists, a tragic melodrama about Russian nihilism, and distributed privately printed copies to various actresses whom he hoped to interest in his sole female role. The third statement is, A House of Pomegranates is a collection of fairy tales written by Oscar Wilde. And finally, the statement is, Oscar Wilde was born in 1850. Yes, the incorrect statement is Oscar Wilde was born in 1850. He was actually born on 16th October 1854. Rest of the statements are correct about him.
All right. Let's move on to the next question. The Illusions of Postmodernism is a work by which theorist? Is it Frederick Jameson, Lyotard, Terry Eagleton, or Foucault? Who wrote the work The Illusions of Postmodernism? Yes, it's a work by Terry Eagleton. Terry Eagleton, as you all know, is a Marxist theorist, right? And he has written many works like Literary Theory and Introduction, Why Marx Was Right. And The Illusions of Postmodernism also is a very prominent work by Eagleton, which talks about not only the characteristics of postmodernism, but what it means to be a postmodernist, right? So Terry Eagleton, Frederick Jameson, Lyotard, Foucault, all of them are very important theorists to look up their major minor works in the correct chronological order. Right.
And Illusions of Postmodernism was published in 1996.
Okay. Let's move on to the next question.
Yes.
Okay.
So Othello by Shakespeare is subtitled. So what is the subtitle of Othello? Is it The Moor of Venice? Is it The Moor Only? Or is it The Moor and the Venice? Or The Venetian Romance? Yes, the correct answer is The Moor of Venus. This is the play about the Moor Othello, who is a general in the Venetian army. It also explores themes of love, jealousy, betrayal, like Othello and Desdemona's relationship that also undergoes a lot of shifts. And then it also explores racism. The subtitle highlights that Othello is the outsider. He has this outsider status in the Venetian society, which is central to the conflict and tragedy in the story. Do look up Othello and other plays by Shakespeare as well.
Okay. Whose novels among the following are known for their realism, psychological insight, sense of place, and detailed depiction of the English countryside? Is it Charlotte Bronte, Emily Bronte, George Eliot, or Elizabeth Gaskell? Well, one of the novelists here is very prominent for her use of realism in her novels, right? And the philosophical stance she took. It is obviously George Eliot, Mary Ann Evans, right? She was a very prominent novelist of the Victorian era. She has written many novels like Adam Bede, Middlemarch, A Study of Provincial Life, Daniel Deronda, Felix Holt, The Radical, Romola. She has written many novels. Her most famous novel is Middlemarch, A Study of Provincial Life. And she very generously exploits realism in her novels. And we often find detailed depictions of the English countryside in her novels. Like in Adam Bede, the setting is Haslow, which is an English countryside. And the settings are almost like a character themselves, right? The settings are like characters. They take active participation in the progression of the plot in the novels. So George Eliot is a very important Victorian novelist. Okay, to look up her novels, her philosophy, her writing style, the characters she has created. And also the Bronte sisters and Elizabeth Gaskell are also very important women novelists of the Victorian era. So do look up these writers, all of their novels, their major minor works, the famous characters they have created, their writing style. Okay, very important.
Another aspect of George Eliot is the complex characters. It often shows the human psyche, the human psychology, and the ethical dilemmas, the sense of place, and everything. The commitment to literary realism is something about George Eliot, which is again can be explored. The next question is, in Cold Blood, it is a non-fiction novel by American author Truman Capote, was first published in 1966. So in Cold Blood, which is a non-fiction novel by American author Truman Capote, was first published in 1966. Is it true or false? It is true. It was first published in 1966. This work, it shows the murder of the 1959 murders of the Clutter family in Holcomb, which is in Kansas, and the investigation that it follows. And Capote also has this narrative style that combines factual reporting, since it is about the 1959 murders of the Clutter family. So we see that he combines the factual reporting with his literary techniques. And it is one of the finest work of the genre of non-fiction novel. And it is really celebrated for its in-depth psychological insights, and it has become a pioneering influence on the true crime literature. So it is definitely a true statement.
Okay. So before we proceed, do join our recap course. I know many of you have already joined our recap course and are doing really well. So those who haven't joined yet, please do and prepare really well for the December net exam. Right.
Yes.
Who among the following used the pseudonym oxymore? Is it J.K. Rowling, J.R.R. Tolkien, Kevin Gilbert, or Terry Pratchett? All of them are popular writers of popular literature, right? So who used the pseudonym oxymore? It was obviously J.R.R. Tolkien who used this pseudonym in the novels that he wrote. Also, J.K. Rowling, very famous writer of Harry Potter series. Similarly important is Kevin Gilbert and Terry Pratchett. All of them are writers of fantasy and mythological series. So do look up the writers of the fantasy genre, the writers who do modern retellings of mythological stories. Very important subgenre it is as a whole, especially net these days. They're asking writers like J.K. Rowling, J.R.R. Tolkien, even Chetan Bhagat, right? So please do look up the writers of popular literature and culture. Okay.
Like Rowling is known for Harry Potter, Tolkien is also for Lord of the Rings, Hobbit. So he's also very popular. He's even considered as a popular literature, stalwart of popular literature. And also the term oxymore, that is derived from oxymoron. So the name oxymore itself, it's derived from the rhetorical term, which combines contradictory terms like foolishly brave, cleverly stupid, stupidly clever. So these are terms he used for this pseudonym. So from there, oxymoron, you get oxymore. That's it. Just a little explanation about it. So the next question is, Endymion is a poem by John Keats, first published in dash. Which year? Is it 1818? Is it 1819? Is it 1817? Or is it 1821? It was published in 1818. This is the poem. It's a very long narrative poem, which is based on the Greek myth of Endymion, where a shepherd who falls in love with Selene, the moon goddess. But it is most famous for its opening line. What is the opening line? We all have heard it. It is, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever." That reflects Keats's exploration of beauty, imagination, and his pursuit for ideal love. So it was first published in 1818.
Spectres of Marx, The State of the Dead, The Work of Mourning, and the New International is a 1993 book by which theorist? Is it Roland Barthes, Derrida, Eagleton, or Raymond Williams? Yes. All of you are answering. It is a work by Derrida. So if you look at the PYQs of Karnataka set, they mostly ask the titles specifically of important theoretical works of major theorists. So Derrida, Roland Barthes, Raymond Williams, Eagleton, all of them are major theorists whom you cannot miss if you're studying for any exam. So please do look up the major titles by Derrida, Roland Barthes, Eagleton, and Raymond Williams. And Spectres of Marx is a very important work by Derrida.
Yes. It was published in 1993, as the question says. Remember the dates as well. So moving on to the next question. The Return of the Native is Thomas Hardy's sixth published novel. It first appeared in the magazine Dash, which is a publication known for its sensationalism and was presented in 12 monthly installments. It started from 9th January to 19th December. The options are The Graphic, Punch, Belgravia, and the Cornhill magazine. Yes, ma'am's YouTube babies are answering. It is Belgravia. So it was indeed first serialized in Belgravia, which is known for its sensationalist style, as the question says. And the novel ran in 12 monthly installments, starting from 9th January to 19th December in 1887, before it was published in a single volume. Finally, it came as a single volume. That's it.
Mark but this flea, and mark in this, how little that which thou deniest me is. These lines were written by which poet? Andrew Marvell, John Donne, Richard Lovelace, or John Suckling? So these are very popular lines from the poem The Flea, written by John Donne. So as you might have noticed already that quoting lines from major poems are quite a trend in all exams, irrespective of set, net, get, right? So all the major poets who are out there like John Donne, Andrew Marvell, and all the major poets of the major periods, please do try to read as much poems as you can, so that will acquaint you with such lines, and it will also help you to eliminate wrong options during the exam, right? So these lines are from the poem The Flea by John Donne. Okay.
It is a metaphysical poem, as you see, and you can check it from the lines as well. This is the style of Donne. He uses this type of playful case in terms of intimacy, and he is known for his blending of eroticism with a very intellectual argument. So if you see the features of the poet in that way also, you can recognize with the writing style. That way also you can mark the correct answer. Moving on, Towards the African Revolution is a collection of essays written by Dash, which was published in 1964. Is it Ames Shazor? Is it Frantz Fanon? Is it Paul Gilroy? Or is it W.E.B. Du Bois? Which author wrote it? It was written by Frantz Fanon, first published in 1964. And in this work, Fanon explores the issues of colonialism, independence, the struggle for freedom across Africa. He also emphasizes on the psychological and political effects of how it affects the psyche of the people, the hegemony, the effects of colonization. And the essays in this collection, it shows Fanon's revolutionary thought. He is controversial for that. He's known for that, his revolutionary thought and his support for the decolonization movement, how much he supported decolonization. So not only physically, but also decolonization of the mind. All right, moving on.
What do the following writers have in common? Thomas Kidd, Cyril Tourneur, John Webster, and Thomas Middleton. They were all authors of Restoration comedy. They were all university wits. They all wrote revenge tragedies. And they were all followers of Ben Jonson. So if you have read the history of British literature, you all can see that Thomas Kidd, Tourneur, Webster, Middleton, all of them are very famous playwrights. And they wrote what kinds of plays? They wrote revenge tragedies, right? So they all wrote revenge tragedies, like Thomas Kidd's The Spanish Tragedy. Webster wrote the revenge tragedies, The Duchess of Malfi and the White Devil. Middleton also wrote revenge tragedies during the Jacobean era, and so was Tourneur. So the common factor among them is they all wrote revenge tragedies.
Yes.
Okay.
Tourneur's very famous work is the Atheist Tragedies. Then
So yes, that's all from our side for tonight. I really hope you guys liked the session and enjoyed the discussion. Please do look up and read more on these areas, study more about these authors, and do consider joining our recap course. It's going on now. So hurry and join our recap course for December net exam.
And
Right.
don't worry if it has already been started, so you will get the recorded classes. Whatever has been covered till now, you'll get them on record and you have lifetime access to that. So that's all for today. I hope you had a good time and you learned from this session and it helped you. So see you again sometime later. You will meet Ankita on Thursday and tomorrow you will have